Hello, all, welcome. I'm Beskar Shadow, and today we're going to be discussing the Diablo 2 Resurrected beta and my thoughts and impressions of playing that early access beta this last weekend. The beta ran from the 13th through the 17th on until 10 a.m. on the 17th. I played about, I don't know, I'd say anywhere from 20-ish hours of the beta this last weekend, and I had a really good time with it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I mainly played on a paladin, and then I played a sorceress for a bit as well, and kind of ran some content with her. And then I tried a couple of the other characters, but I didn't get as far with them as I did with the paladin and the sorceress. Now, one thing to note about this early access beta, again, we weren't able to play the necromancer or the assassin, so there was no fun footage or gameplay from that, sadly. So we don't get to see how they were playing. But we got to play the other five classes. But we only did get to play them only through acts 1 and 2 of normal. So we didn't really get to play through all the acts, different difficulties, like such like that. So that was kind of a little. That leaves a lot of questions in the air on how those are gonna run when they do come out. I did a bit of dueling, trading, farming. Had fun with doing all of those. One thing to note that I loved, me personally, from the beginning of getting into it and enjoying the gameplay and everything. I personally enjoyed the new crisp, clean look of it. Again, I loved Diablo 2, played it way back when. Thought loved loved how it was back then. However, with the new crisp, clean graphic overhaul change that they've done, it just looks beautiful to me. Like, I don't know, that's all I can say. Like, I love the way that it looked. Even looking at the grass, the enemies, the landscape, everything, how the character models looked. I personally liked it. I thought it was a really good overhaul of just bringing it up to date and up to 2021 essentially. Um, Now, when I was playing the beta over the course of my 20-ish hours or so, there was a bit of small bugs. There wasn't. I didn't run into any game breaking bugs, but I did run into like small bugs. There could be some of them were basically like if you were trying to identify your items too fast with like a scroll or something, like it just wouldn't work right, or trade screen closing on you when it shouldn't be. Just kind of weird things like that. And then also the world chat was just a complete mess. Like the world chat was not working at all. Tons of people coming in, coming out. It just wasn't working properly. So that was another thing. Another bug personally that I experienced was I logged in to the game from fresh start, and as soon as I logged in, I went out to go explore and go fight some enemies, and all my enemies were frozen still. I couldn't attack them. I couldn't do anything to them. They were just stuck. So I was like, okay. And then also, when you went further into it, like the graphics, like everything kind of like dropped. You could tell there was an issue going on there. So, but all I did was I just restarted the game, restarted my connection, and I got in, and everything was back to normal. So that only happened to me once. Also, me personally, I didn't experience any crashing. I know some others experienced some crashing during playing the beta. I, however, did not. So that was nice. But I know some others did. I happened to not run into that issue. Um, I Another thing to mention about it's not really a bug or anything like that. Not a bug, but they for consoles they didn't have any console lobbies. So it's like if you were playing on console, you would just have to jump in and kind of play with whatever random people you get put with, or happen to be on the same thing that you are, or maybe not. So there was no console lobbies for that. I played on PC the whole entire weekend, so I didn't really run into that on my end. But if you were playing on console, that was something that you would run into. Another thing that everyone already knows about this, they removed, the TCP IP. We'll be kind of curious to see what they replace that with moving forward. Like, what are they gonna do with that if they're gonna remove that? Like, what are they gonna do for any like mod support or anything like that going forward? Um, but so that'll be interesting to see in the near future. I don't, see what they end up doing with it. But besides even all of that, all in all, like the game played fine for me. Like it played perfectly good. Like going through Act One, Act Two, bosses, farming, going through the motions. Like, I mean, the game did play fine. Besides all the little small bugs. I mean, there's a bunch of little things that they do need to tweak and fix before the game does release. Hopefully, they can fix the majority of those before the game does release or launch. But everything else for me seemed to be a pretty smooth run. Um, there was a number of like little improvements that they kind of have done. I mean, they did improvements to the cold spells looking better, like blizzard and things like that. Some lightning spells, the lightning spells looking better. So I did some nice overhauls and looks to those that make them look better. The gems were looking better. Like some equipment items had better visuals and such and whatnot. So I mean, with all that put aside, though, the one thing that I'm going to be very, very curious to know about. I mean, it just even though we got to play this early access beta and we got to play Acts One and Acts Two through normal, what about the other three acts? Like, how are they going to play? How are the different difficulties going to play? Is there going to be any kind of weirdness that happens? When you're trying to get into those acts, that'll be a very curious thing to see. Um, I don't know. Other than that, I mean, I would like to see more like content, more difficulties and stuff, and more acts. But besides all that, the game played really well. I will be, of course, carrying over my progress into this next weekend beta, which I believe is, I forget the dates. I think it's like the 20th through the 23rd. So your progress does roll over from this last weekend's beta into the next week's beta, which is good. But of course, after this next weekend's beta, then all progress will be wiped. There'll be no more betas, and then the game will release. So you won't have any content saved or anything, of course, once we go into launch. Now, another thing they won't be adding, of course, at launch, which most people already know, is there won't be any ladder at launch. Which that makes perfectly good sense, because I want to get stabilization down first and get everything actually working great before they decide to throw in the ladder. So I'm kind of curious to see what timeline that'll actually be after launch when a ladder does get entered into the game. But I mean, all in all, even from that, like just playing it this last weekend for the 20-ish hours that I played, I had a really fun time with it. Like it's Diablo 2. I mean, we all love this game. It was great back then, and we want to see it great, of course, now. So I don't know, guys. Like I really enjoyed it. I'd be curious to see like how much. Like let me know in the comments like how much you guys played this last weekend, what you thought, what you didn't like, what you did like, what you would maybe like to see them change for maybe right before launch, like right before. I mean, if they can make any changes before, of course, launch happens after these betas. What would you guys like to see? So yeah, guys, just let me know in the comments down below. And of course, if you want to see any more Diablo 2 Resurrected content, make sure to hit that sub and like button so you guys can get notified from when I upload any new videos. But all in all, thank you all for watching, and guys, we'll see you in the next one. All right, take care.